Hello and welcome. Today we're going to make a quickie version of Southern style beans. This is a perfect weeknight recipe for when you need something quick and mostly hands off. And if you happen to have leftover ham from something like another meal or a holiday, it makes the perfect use for that. So let's get to the ingredients and get things cooking. These amounts are for 2 people. If you need to serve more, just double or triple the recipe as needed. For our recipe, we are going to need 15 ounces of cooked pinto beans. I used beans cooked in my Instant Pot, but I also made it the same as a normal can size, so you can buy pre-cooked beans to save time if you want. We will also need about 1 cup of ham, cubed to about double the size you want it to be when it's finished cooking. I think I used about 1.25 cups since it was the last of the leftover ham I was using, so if you are using leftover ham like I am, a bit less or more will not hurt this dish at all. Pretty much any kind of pre-cooked ham will do, from leftovers to deli meat cut on the maximum slice thickness. You could even use one of those ham steaks they sell in the corner of all the US markets. For spices, I used 1 teaspoon garlic, 1 teaspoon pepper, 1/4 teaspoon salt, although I don't think it actually needed the extra salt, and you could probably leave that out, 1 teaspoon onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of seasoning salt, 1 teaspoon Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon hot sauce, and if I have them, I also like to add a teaspoon of steak sauce, doesn't really matter what kind, and a teaspoon of tomato paste like I'm doing here today. You're also going to need about 1 to 1.5 cups of water. So, outside of dicing the ham, which I did off camera, everything else can just be dropped right into the pot you're going to boil it on. Depending on your stove and pan, you'll want to heat just high enough to get a vigorous boil, somewhere between medium and medium-high. The ham should be in cubes about twice the size you want them to be in the final product, and this is because a lot of the commercial hams these days have water added to them to keep them moist, even if the person sort of messes up the cooking. Now, not all hams will have water added, and it tends to be a lot less water the more expensive the ham gets, but by making it about 2 times the size we want, it'll shrink down to about the size we're shooting for. Everything else can just be dumped in, though. I would hold back the salt, unlike what I did here, since it may be salty enough between the pre-cooked ham and the seasoning salt, and you can always add more at the end if you need it, and you really can't take it away. Now, as I mentioned in the ingredients, you're going to need to add some water, and here's where you also make the choice on how long it'll take to cook. I find that if you add about 1 cup of water, that it takes 30 to 40 minutes to cook the liquids down to the thickened sauce we're shooting for. If you want the flavors to develop more, you can do this by adding 1.5 cups of water instead of 1 cup. The cooking time will increase to about 55 to 60 minutes, but the extra cooking time is also going to make all the flavors come out more, and is totally worth doing if you have the time. Comparing the two, you're going to get about 80% of the flavor development in the 1 cup version, but you can cut the cook time almost in half, so that's a great trade-off in terms of time saved versus flavor lost. But, as anyone who's ever made a stew, soup, or chili would tell you, it always tastes better the next day. And the reason for that is the same as our 1.5 cups of water version. The extra time allows the flavors to come out more and fully mix. So is it worth doing the 1 hour version? I would say yes, if... And the if would be if you have a non-stick pot to boil this in. If you do, then yes, go with the 1 hour version, pretty much always, like I did here. I stirred the pot 3 times in that hour, and I was cooking in between medium and medium-high. But without a non-stick pot, I would probably have to stir every 5 minutes or so after it comes up to a boil, so I would probably go with the 1 cup version just to save myself some time since it needs so much more attention. If you are enjoying this and would like to learn more about cooking and get some nice recipes, subscribe for more. And a thank you to everyone who has subscribed and has been sharing it. It helps me and the channel out a lot. Oh yeah, and you also get bonus cat pictures mixed in. Okay, and once you reach the end of your cook time, you will find your liquid has thickened up a bit to form a sauce. So let's briefly talk about why we added water just to boil it away. Water has a certain volume of ingredients that can be suspended in it. This varies by temperature, so boiling lets us increase this volume by raising the amount of particulates that can be suspended in the water. Looking at this chart, what we're interested in is the space between the molecules. Our flavors fill those spaces. Heating the water increases both the space and the number of spaces to fill. So, what are we filling those spaces with? It will primarily be starches from the beans and the fats and juices from the ham, as well as our spices. When the starches and fats combine, they will thicken our liquid. So when we add, say, double the amount of water we want for our sauce, we now have double the amount of particulates suspended in our liquid. Then, as it reduces, the starches and fats combining will end up thickening our liquid, allowing it to hold a much larger amount of particulates than water alone could have, resulting in a thicker, more flavorful sauce. This is also partially the reason why the 1.5 cup of water version tastes more intense, because even though we use the same ingredients, we were able to hold more particulates in the suspension because of the larger volume of the suspension, and they don't go back into the ham, they come in the sauce, so you get a little more flavor in your sauce. So with that, we've made some quickie southern style beans. I'll share a traditional recipe for those one of these days. Most people I know who do eat these eat them by themselves. I tend to eat mine with some tortilla chips, but I know some people who are diehard barbecue fans who swear by mixing them with the potato salad. And when we tried that, it wasn't actually bad at all. So since the combo with creamy worked so well together, we also wanted to give it a try with an acidic food, and we found it paired well with sauerkraut in the mix. So for the play with your food crowd, those two should be a nice jumping off point. Oh yeah, we also now have 4K, and promptly debuted it on a video where I do nothing but talk over a picture of bubbling beans. So maybe not the best recipe to start the 4K on, but it has arrived. So if you're still watching at this point, thank you for watching, and have a great day and a great meal.